There's exactly 1 second in this clip where you can watch someone's brain switch from, "I'm having fun," to, "Oh no, I need to be somewhere right now." And that 1 second is why this moment from BTS's Arlington show has been sitting in ARMY's replies for days. If you have not seen it yet, here is the setup. It is August 17th, night 2 at AT&T Stadium. The ARIRANG World Tour has just rolled into Texas, and BTS is deep into the part of the show where literally anything can happen. And on this particular night, anything did happen. Because out of nowhere, the opening notes of DNA start playing alongside Butterfly, as that night's surprise song picks. Not on the set list, not rehearsed that day, just there. And somewhere in the middle of that surprise, footage that started circulating from that night appears to show Jimin sprinting, full speed, across the stage in front of tens of thousands of people trying to make it to a spot in the choreography before the dance break hits. That is the clip. That is why we are here. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this 10-second moment says so much about how this entire tour has been built, and why a member scrambling across a stage has become one of its most talked about images. Let's back up first, because context is everything with BTS shows right now, and if you are new to what is happening with this group in 2026, you are walking into one of the biggest live music stories of the decade. After years of mandatory military service that took all 7 members away from the stage, BTS came back with an album called ARIRANG, and they built an entire world tour around it that is currently working its way through more than 30 cities across 5 continents, with over 80 shows on the books stretching all the way into 2027. This is not a small run. This is stadiums, sold out within hours of tickets going live in multiple countries, a demand so intense that Mexico's own president publicly appealed to South Korea for a bigger venue to fit more fans in. Critics covering the North American have compared the atmosphere to Beatlemania, not as a throwaway line, but as an actual comparison of scale, with 70,000 people packing stadiums like Baltimore's M&T Bank and turning them into what one reviewer called the closest thing to that kind of live music hysteria in decades. This is a group with multiple songs sitting past the 1 billion stream mark, and one that has crossed 2 billion. So when people talk about this tour like it's one of the biggest live events on the planet right now, that is not hype talk. That is just what the numbers actually look like. Within that tour, there is a segment that has become one of the most talked about parts of nearly every stop, the surprise song moment. Here's how it works, and this is the part that explains why a member sprinting across a stage is even possible in the first place. After the big hits, after Butter, after Dynamite, there is a stretch of the show where a DJ drops in 2 songs that are not on the official set list. Nobody knows which songs are coming. Not the fans, and more importantly, not the members. BTS finds out what song is playing at the exact same moment the crowd does. There is no rehearsal for this segment, no cue sheet, no blocking. This is played out differently at nearly every city on the tour. In Tampa, it was Permission to Dance paired with Magic Shop. In East Rutherford, New Jersey, it was Dis-Ease and Run one night, then Autumn Leaves and Go Go the next. In Foxborough, Paradise and No More Dream follow the next night by Make It Right and N.O. In Baltimore, Telepathy and Boy in Love, then Just One Day and Best of Me. Every single one of those picks came out of nowhere, live, with the members finding out in real time right alongside the crowd. That is 8 different cities, 16 different surprise picks, and effectively 16 separate moments where BTS had to just trust muscle memory and instinct with zero preparation. Every stop gets a completely different pull, which means every stop carries the same risk. 7 guys who have not performed some of these songs together in years are being handed a random track live in front of tens of thousands of people and expected to just go. On night 2 in Arlington, paired that night with Butterfly, the DJ pulled DNA. Now, if you are not deep into BTS's discography, DNA might just sound like a song title to you. So let's talk about why this particular pick matters so much. DNA came out in 2017 as part of the Love Yourself, her release, and it was one of the songs that pushed BTS from a big group in Korea into a genuinely global phenomenon, becoming the first BTS song to ever chart on the Billboard Hot 100. The choreography that came with it became just as iconic as the song itself, with a dance break section fans have obsessed over for close to a decade, one where the formation shifts and specific members get spotlighted in specific spots on the stage. It is precise. It is memorized down to the count. And notably, it is a song that has not been part of the tour's rehearsed, official set list, which means when the surprise segment pulled it out of nowhere in Arlington, every member on that stage was reconstructing years-old muscle memory in real time with zero warning. This is not the first time DNA specifically has caught the group off guard mid-tour. Back at the very start of the run, during the opening shows in Goyang, South Korea, the group pulled DNA during a similar unscripted segment and openly struggled with parts of the choreography together, laughing through it, improvising, leaning on each other to get through the song. Fans who watched that night did not see it as a failure. They saw it as something rare. 7 guys who had spent years apart, quite literally serving their country, getting handed a moment where the polish falls away and what's left is genuine, unscripted joy at being back on a stage together. So when DNA showed up again months later in Arlington, it arrived with a bit of a reputation already attached to it, as the one surprise pick the group hasn't fully nailed down since coming back. It also helps to understand where DNA sits inside BTS's catalog compared to what this tour is actually built to showcase. The ARIRANG World Tour exists to support the group's studio album ARIRANG, released on March 20th, 2026, their first full studio album in nearly 6 years, and their first release since completing military service, put together with a long list of collaborators across late 2025. The tour's main set list leans heavily on that new material night after night, built around songs the group has had months to drill and stage together as a unit. DNA predates all of that by almost a decade. It is not new choreography the members have been rehearsing for this specific tour. It is an old one, pulled out of a much deeper archive of the group's catalog specifically because the surprise segment is designed to do exactly that. Reach back into eras of the group's career that don't get regular stage time anymore. That is part of what makes a moment like the Arlington Sprint so much more charged than it would be if it happened during a song from the current set list. It is not a lapse in the show they have been rehearsing every night. It is an entirely different show, pulled out of memory on the spot. That is the exact moment you see in the Arlington clip. As the dance break section kicks in, footage appears to show Jimin not yet in position, breaking into what looks like a full sprint across the stage, covering serious ground in barely any time at all, trying to land where the formation needed him before it locked in. We don't have a fully confirmed, official account of exactly how the rest of that break played out beat for beat, but the footage that circulated afterwards suggests he closed the gap right as the formation came together. Whether it was the shock of a song choice or simple stage geography catching up to him, what the clip captures either way is a professional performer's instinct taking over in real time, refusing to let a surprise derail the moment for the fans in that stadium, even if it meant an all-out sprint in front of thousands of phone cameras. Here's why that 10-second scramble has turned into one of the most shared clips from the entire North American leg of this tour. It is honest. It is not polished. It is not a moment that was blocked out by a choreographer or rehearsed 100 times in a practice room. And if you have followed Jimin's career even a little, a reaction like this will not surprise you because it fits a pattern people have pointed to for years. Earlier this year, Rolling Stone specifically singled him out as BTS's strongest dancer, a recognition that came from people covering music and performance professionally. That is not a label attached by accident. It comes from a very specific, repeated pattern. Showing up early, staying late, treating every performance, rehearsed or not, as something worth fully committing to. And that reputation isn't limited to nights when everything goes according to plan. If anything, it's on nights like this one, when a surprise throws the whole show off its rails for a few seconds, that a performer's actual habits show through the clearest. Anyone can look prepared when they already know exactly what's coming. It's a lot harder to look that committed when they don't. What the Arlington clip captures isn't rehearsed excellence. It's the fallback setting underneath all of it, the instinct that kicks in when there's no time left to think it through and someone just has to react. And for a performer with a track record like his, that fallback setting still looks like someone giving everything he's got, even in a segment of a show that is built entirely around chance. And this is the part where I want you to actually understand the stakes of a moment like this, because from the outside, someone jogging across a stage might look like a funny blooper, a stumble, a gotcha clip. But if you have ever performed anything live, whether it's a dance routine, a sports play, a piece of music, you know exactly how much pressure sits inside that decision. There is no pause button on a stadium show. There is no do-over. The choice in that moment is either close the gap and land the formation, or accept the visible break in choreography on a live stream that gets replayed forever. It also helps to remember the physical toll a night like this already puts on a performer before any surprise even shows up. A show like this runs well over 2 hours, packed with numbers that are demanding even when everything goes exactly according to plan. Dropping a completely unrehearsed song into the middle of that, one with its own separate formation and cardio requirements, on top of everything the group has already been doing on stage for most of the night, is not a small ask. Sprinting across a stage under those circumstances isn't just a formation problem, it's a moment where a performer's conditioning and instinct both get tested at once, live, with no chance to catch a breath first. What the footage shows is someone choosing to close that gap anyway. And that split-second refusal to let the moment slip might be one of the more quietly impressive things to come out of this tour, precisely because nobody was watching for it. It happened inside a segment that is designed to be loose and unpredictable. Nobody expected precision there. It showed up anyway. Zoom out even further, and this is honestly one of the things that makes this era of BTS's career so fascinating to watch in real time. This is a group that spent years building some of the most rigorously rehearsed, tightly produced live shows in modern pop music. Precision was the whole brand. And now, coming back from years away, they are choosing to build unpredictability directly into the show. Night after night, city after city, knowing full well that it means moments like this Arlington clip are going to happen. A member is going to get caught off guard. A formation is going to wobble. Somebody is going to have to move fast. And instead of editing that risk out, they are leaning into it, because the payoff is exactly what you are watching right now. A moment so unscripted that it ends up traveling further online than half the officially choreographed numbers from the same show. It's worth pointing out that running is actually already part of this show, just not usually like this. Reviewers covering the Baltimore stop specifically praised the backup dancers for running full wind sprints across the stage as a rehearsed, choreographed part of certain numbers, using that movement to build a show's massive, sweeping visual scale in a stadium that size. That kind of running is planned. It's blocked, timed, and drilled until it looks effortless. What makes the Arlington clip different, and honestly what makes it hit so much harder, is that nobody choreographed Jimin's sprint. There was no cue for it, no mark on the stage, no rehearsal. It was a member solving a problem the show itself hadn't planned for, using the exact same physical language, full-speed movement across a massive stage, that the show normally reserves for its most polished, pre-built moments. That contrast, planned spectacle versus unplanned instinct, is a big part of why this clip stands out even in a tour that is already packed with viral moments. Clips from that night spread quickly across fan spaces, picked apart frame by frame the way viral concert moments always are, with people zeroing in on exactly that stretch of the dance break. That kind of reaction is not really about the running itself. It is about what the running represents. It represents a tour built on purpose to leave room for the unrehearsed, and a performer whose instinct in that unrehearsed space was to sprint rather than let the moment feel incomplete. It represents exactly why this era of BTS, chaotic surprise songs and all, has become one of the most talked about live music stories happening anywhere in the world right now, and why a single 10-second clip out of a 2-hour show can end up being the thing everyone is still talking about days later. There is also a bigger reason clips like this one tend to travel so far beyond the fandom that generated them in the first place, and it has less to do with BTS specifically, and more to do with what people are actually drawn to online right now. A perfectly executed dance number is impressive, but it is also in a strange way expected. It is what you paid for. It is what months of rehearsal are supposed to produce. What you don't expect, and what you can't manufacture no matter how big the production budget gets, is a genuine, unscripted human reaction to something going slightly sideways. That is the kind of footage that gets pulled out of context, dropped into a completely different platform, and watched by people who have never heard a BTS song in their life, simply because it taps into something universal. The very relatable feeling of realizing you are not where you're supposed to be and having to move, right now, to fix it. That's a feeling almost everyone has lived through in some form, whether it happened on a stage in front of 70,000 people or just running for a bus. It is exactly the kind of moment that turns casual scrollers into people who stop, watch twice, and ask who this guy is. If this is the kind of BTS content you want more of, breakdowns of the moments that actually matter, not just the headlines, make sure you are subscribed, because this tour still has months left on the calendar, and if Arlington and Goyang are any indication, there are going to be a lot more moments exactly like this one worth talking about. This tour is not slowing down anytime soon either. It is heading into more cities, more surprise songs, more nights where anything can happen. And if this Arlington moment is any preview, some of the best content this tour produces is not going to come from the setlist at all. It is going to come from moments like this one, the ones nobody planned for. Drop a comment and tell me if you caught this clip when it first circulated, or if this is the first time you're seeing it. I genuinely want to know how far this thing traveled. And if you want the full story on what else went down across this tour, from fashion moments to the wildest crowd reactions from every stop so far, there is a video on this channel right now that covers exactly that, so go check it out next. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.